So Richard and I were standing at church with friends that we've had for like 20 years, okay? And so my husband went to introduce this new visitor to them, and his mind went totally blank. He couldn't remember our friends' names. You could see like this instant shift in him. You could tell that like his face was getting flushed, his eyes were darting looking for answers, his heart was racing. He just totally froze. And so our friend stepped in and she was like, "It's okay, Richard. My name is blah, blah, blah. Remember?" Just very silly. And we all just busted out laughing, broke the tension. And just like that, it passed and that event was over, right? Well, I mean, we teased him for a little while, but other than that. And while that moments like that can be extremely embarrassing and you're relieved when it's over, that moment is actually significant because what he experienced was a stress response and actually a perfectly functioning nervous system. So today, I want to show you something about stress that most people actually misunderstand. Stress itself is not the problem, which sounds bonkers when you feel stressed all the time, but hear me out. So, what my husband experienced is something called acute stress. And acute stress is short term. It's tied to very specific moments or events, and your brain detects like pressure or threat or danger of some kind. And your body just instantly responds. Your heart rate increases, your breathing can shift, your focus can narrow. You get like in this mode to like do something, right? And that's what we call fight or flight. And it's a gift. It's a gift God designed into our bodies to help us to protect ourselves from danger. And it's a good response and we want it. We want our bodies to do that. And it's a sign that our nervous system is doing what it's supposed to do and it has the resiliency that it needs. So, there are other things that you might have felt that were acute stress before, like you're driving behind someone and they slam on their brakes out of nowhere and you have to slam on your brakes and your heart goes, right? Or you're scrolling above your face and then your phone starts falling right towards the bridge of your nose and you just kind of like panic, right? Or this one, you're not having a good day, you're not dressed, and the doorbell rings and your body immediately reacts and responds, right? But the moment passes and your system comes back to normal and you just move on with your day. So acute stress is really helpful because it turns off and turns on and it trains your nervous system to be flexible. So here's where things start to change. What my husband experienced that day resolved in like seconds, right? It didn't take very long. But what if it didn't? What if his body stayed in that same state long after that moment was over? Not for like a few seconds like it did, but like hours or days or weeks, right? What if he stayed in that state longer? Because that's where we cross into something very different than acute stress. That's where we cross into something called chronic stress. And chronic stress, that's not just like one event. It's what happens to your body when it stays activated too long or it gets pulled back into stress over and over again without full recovery. Chronic stress is the problem, right? So instead of trigger, response, recovery, now you have trigger, response, partial recovery, re-trigger, response, partial recovery, re-trigger, repeat. And over time, your body just stops fully returning to baseline. And so your baseline has shifted, so your ability to be resilient has shifted. So let's look what this actually looks like in real life because it doesn't actually always look like what we think. It's at least not what I thought. I thought that was like panic attacks and obvious anxiety, things like that. But sometimes it looks like feeling like you're dealing with crushing anxiety, but when you go to lay down, you can't nap, you can't rest, your brain is racing, making it virtually impossible, right? So you're exhausted, but you can't rest. It can look like falling asleep all day and then being awake all night. It can look like you're snapping at the people you love over the smallest of things all the time for no reason. It can also look like forgetting your words mid-sentence. Done that a million times. It can also look like your body being tense all the time, or believe it or not, actually, it can look like being a high performer or a controller, right? That's actually a chronic stress response. So that's really fascinating. And the tricky thing is, those things don't always feel like stress in the moment, so we don't always connect them together. So what started out as like lots of things that were building up over time behind the scenes has now turned you into this woman that you don't recognize. And you now have this life that you don't even know how you got here or why it is the way it is, because this was not the plan, right? And so, yeah, so it really impacts everything. And really, chronic stress can come from multiple places, right? So we can have external pressures like work, finances, relationships, things like that. It can be lifestyle choices. It can be poor diet, toxins, being sedentary all the time, living in clutter and chaos all the time. Let's see, there can be constant stimulation, like constantly noise, constantly screens, constant notifications on your phone, where you're always on, right? Social media, news, all the things, all the time. Believe it or not, there can be things like internal stressors, which I didn't even know existed, like poor sleep, inflammation, illness, dysregulation. There's the mental load of overthinking about everything, anticipation, replaying situations, hypervigilance. But guys, there's also spiritual triggers like hidden sin, unresolved conflict, too many commitments, unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment. They're real things. There's a lot of factors that we actually never really consider as impacting our nervous system stress response team, right? So there's this really interesting thing that happens, and I just want to share it with you, because when you see or remember something graphic or disturbing rather than actually going through it, your brain knows that you're not actually in danger, but your body can still activate a stress response that adds to your overall load. So here's something that you never thought, right? You're watching this like really intense thing, and you don't realize that it's not exactly the same thing as experiencing it firsthand, obviously, but it's similar enough that repeated exposure can have more of an effect than we realize, especially when it's constant. With the internet and the phones always in our hands and things we see every day that are just horrifying or negative or whatever, like that's not helping. It's actually hurting our nervous system regulation. It's actually putting us in a more chronic stress response. So now, this is where stress connects with sickness. When your body stays in stress, it has to prioritize survival. So it starts reallocating resources. So we're in this high stress, and the body said, I got nothing left. I have to reprioritize. So your digestion slows, your repair gets deprioritized, your hormones shift, your immune system becomes dysregulated and weak, right? And dysregulation over time creates an internal environment where more and more symptoms begin to show up, often without even a clear like diagnosis or direction, right? Like it's just a mishmash of chaos going on in the body. I did a video a couple weeks back on disease versus dysregulation. So if you want to like dig more into that, you can head over there. But all of this is important because it may seem like all of your symptoms come on overnight, but there's always a progression. Symptoms are a sign of what has been happening behind the scenes for a while, like your body's been swimming against a current. And so at first, your body can compensate, and then you start noticing like subtle intermittent symptoms that are easy to kind of dismiss or ignore. They come and go. It's not really like a life-changing thing. And then slowly those symptoms become more consistent and in your face. And eventually your body just can't keep up anymore. And it sets us on this path to disease and brokenness that we didn't really see coming when it was just intermittent symptoms. But that was your body crying out saying something's not right. So for me, this wasn't just like a theoretical thing that I'm talking to you about, right? Like I lived it. It was real life for me. This is exactly what happened to my body and what my life looked like. It wasn't one big event. It was layers of stress and trauma and viral load and antibiotics and toxins and poor diet, all the things. It was just layer after layer after layer. And there was never a moment where my body could just rest and heal and feel safe. So it became burdened down with symptoms that I couldn't ignore anymore or write off because it was the whole thing. It was my whole life. So what you're experiencing may not be your body failing you, actually. It may be your body doing exactly what it was designed to do, to tell you something's wrong. I'm stuck in a state where I wasn't supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be like this all the time. Somebody help me, right? So let's zoom out and look at a bigger picture. So over the last few weeks, we've talked about the different roots of sickness: sin, stewardship, now stress, and we weren't created to live under this constant pressure. We weren't created to live with sin chasing behind us, right? And the poor stewardship and all of those things, fear, striving. But we've built our lives, many of us, that actually keep us there. And sometimes we don't even realize it or know how it all connects. And so we end up thinking to ourselves, something's wrong with me. I'm broken. I just need more discipline. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. And there's some truth to the things that like maybe we need to do better. But sometimes the reality is the body itself is just overwhelmed and stuck. And that's why we can't seem to do anything, right? What my husband experienced that day wasn't the problem. It would have become a problem if his body stayed there. And for many people watching this, that's exactly what's happening. So what do we do with this, right? First things first, awareness. Ask God, where in my life am I fully, never fully coming out of stress? And is there something I need to surrender? Often the first step is stillness and surrender. And that's a hard one. And God tells us to be still and know, right? Be still and know that he is God. That's step one always. Be still means let go of control. Ooh. And know that he is God is a heart posture of trust and surrender, right? We're like, okay, God, I trust you. I'm letting go. So that's number one. Number two, identify the inputs, right? What are the constantly feeding our nervous system things? What are those things that are constantly coming in? What am I eating? What am I watching? What am I thinking about? What is the pace that I'm living in, right? Let's just and then it's not a shame thing. It's just an assessment of where we're at. Third thing, reduce before you add. So most people think I need to add more routines. I need to add more supplements. I need to add more strategy. Yes. But first, back up. Let's take something out and let's just see what happens, right? And we're going to watch and pray. We're going to just see what God does when we take something out that we know is causing the stress. And we're going to just see what happens. We're going to trust God. We're going to pray. We're going to watch for his hand and watch for him to move and invite him into the whole process, right? Okay, so that's sort of the process that we want to do. Here's what I want you to do today. I want you to spend 5 to 10 minutes every morning asking God to show you what you may be holding on to that's not yours to carry so you can lay it down. And then I just want you to pick one thing this week, just one, that's constantly adding to your stress load and just reduce it. Just get rid of that thing or do it less. Not forever. You don't have to do this forever, but we're just testing it out, right? We're just going to see how does my body react? If your body feels stuck in stress all the time, it's worth trying, right? It doesn't mean that your body's broken. It just means it hasn't been given that consistent signal that it's safe to come out of it. So anyway, I just think it's a good opportunity to assess and see what's happening. There were times in my life, I will say, when I really was so overdone and I would cancel something and my whole body would lift. My energy would lift. My mood would lift. My stomach would feel better. All the things. Sometimes we just need to remove something and see what happens, right? So anyway, if something in this video really clicked for you, I would love for you to comment in the comment section below. What is one stressor that you did not realize was affecting you? Was it your phone? Was it your diet? Was there something you didn't realize was something that could impact your nervous system? I would love to hear that. If you are looking for more support in learning how to understand your symptoms, your body, how to be holistically well based on the Bible and science, there's a link in the description to my new book, The Doctor Says I'm Fine. It's out for pre-launch right now. We'll be fully launched May 1st. But right now, there's all the goodies for pre-launch. I want to invite you to take a look at that. This book was written for you. It was written for the woman who is stuck, can't figure out how to move forward. The body is in rebellion and you need help. You need to understand and you need to be able to have tools to move forward. That's what this book is for. So it's science and Bible-based, and it's powerful. And that's, I don't say that to toot my own horn. God did it. So anyway, I want to invite you to that. That's in the comment section below. And May 19th, we will be launching our school community where you can come and join us and do this in community. So I will link that in the comments as well. And if you find this video after May 19th, click and join. All right. See you on the next one.